going to change the world, but I guarantee that I will spark the brain that will change the world, and that's our job.
Tell me why. Why can't we live together? Tell me why. Why can't we live together? Everybody wants to live together. Why can't we live together?
Hello, all you melanated beauties. Sun-kissed by God's lips. This is Coy with your black tea sip. I'm sipping power to pour you the truth. Go grab your cup. Let's fill it up.
To this Friday sip right before early voting. It's election time, and well, you know your girl is tired. I'm out here on these campaigns, on the campaign trail, and representing some fantastic judges and candidates that deserve to keep their job. It's been a lot of stuff happening, a lot of stuff going on. It's been what people, would call cray-cray out here in these streets. And so we're going to talk about some things today. I received a transcript from 2018, a recusal hearing of one of the incumbent judges that is running. She is running for a re-election of judge, and she said, and it was quoted by a very well-known, respected attorney, that she said she's tired of nigger churches as she was disembarking from the bench. We're going to talk about that. I actually have the transcript of that statement in the context that it was used, and I was shocked because no attorney would say that in open court to another judge, mind you, if they did not honestly believe it to be so. The state of Texas does not allow lawyers to criticize judges. Okay, so if you're licensed in the state of Texas, you're not supposed to do that. So he had to honestly believe that it was true and accurate. I know that you all have been, you were watching the show. Many people were here with the Kim and her opponent, the challengers, Judge Kim Cooks, and that was a huge thing. And I've got a lot of calls about that. I certainly want to talk about that. I want to touch on the fact that I did ask for several documents. I asked for substantive proof. Someone said, well, why would you need pictures? Well, if you're involved with someone, I guess the honest reason is I didn't believe it. I didn't believe it to be true, so I asked for pictures. But I didn't say, you're a liar, I don't believe you, I don't trust you. I simply said, do you have pictures? Recently, I was in a little fender bender. Another car kissed my car. It was unwanted. It's like an assault. We didn't want the kiss my car. And one of the things they asked me is, did you take pictures on the scene? Well, I didn't take pictures of the car because I was, it's a thing. I left State Farm because I didn't like the way State Farm was treating me. State Farm refused to put a roof on the house, even though we needed a roof. Kept telling me the roof was fine. The roof was not fine. So I ended up having to pay for the roof in my parents' home out of pocket. So I went to Geico. Oh my God, don't go to Geico. That's what I'm saying to y'all. Don't go to Geico. I didn't know not to go to Geico. I know now. I'm getting my car fixed. I told them as soon as I get my car fixed, I'm out. But I was on the phone trying to get all of that established because I didn't know my policy number. I didn't have the cards. It's campaign season. It is the Democratic primary. I look like this. and for those of you that are listening to me in radio world, God bless you, because you don't know how I look. But I was, trying to get it all together. Campaign season, nobody's together. I was talking to one of my friends. She's running, and I couldn't remember if I paid my insurance, and she couldn't remember if she paid hers. That is what election season does to us. Those of the melanated nation that are sun-kissed by God's lips. See, I got it in there for you. We are literally running around ragged because we're trying to make sure that people who serve our interest and people who are a part of our community and people are ingrained in ensuring that we maintain and not just survive but thrive. It takes a lot out of us. And so it brings me back to my car situation. And they asked me, well, how did you all exchange information? I said, well, I took a picture. He said, perfect. Can you send me the details? Well, yeah, I'd figured it out. But yeah, I can send you the details. And you know why? Because they were looking for substantive proof of what had happened. I didn't take pictures at the scene. We didn't call the police because he was having a hard time getting his insurance company on the phone as well, because he wanted to make sure he didn't have the right insurance card in his car. He had one that had expired like a few days before. He hadn't put the new one in there, and so he wanted to ensure me that he had valid insurance. So we didn't call the police, and so that was kind of like to the insurance company, because of course they're the crooks, but they think everybody else is. And one of the things he said to me was, "How did you do that?" I sent a text. He said, "Okay, can you send me a picture of," I'm not sending a text. I took a picture of the image, and he said, "Can you upload it?" And I'm saying all that to say, that's all I asked. Do you have pictures? Because I don't know anybody who's dating a man, and this has been going on for several months. They didn't even say we used to date and we broke up, but she's still mad at me. Like, that's not what they said. Several months of dating, and here we are. Nobody has any pictures. That's odd. Those are things that make you say, because you literally stand in disbelief of what you're hearing, because it seems that that's not quite true. Because who doesn't have a picture with their boo? Y'all didn't take no vacay or nothing. Y'all didn't go nowhere. Y'all didn't sit at a restaurant and snap a quick shot. Like, I don't take a lot of pictures with me and my man, and they're certainly not strewn all over the Facebook, but I have them. And if someone were to ask me, like the Geico people, I have them. So that didn't happen. She didn't produce any documents, any pictures, text messages, Snapchat. I'd have taken anything, child, to be honest. I'd have taken anything. None of that came to fruition. The challenger, Bailey, said that I could have this document that she kept saying that Kim had filed against her, and how she was victorious, and how, it had no merit. And I actually asked for that, and she told me I could get it when I made arrangements for her to just simply drop the file into a file share. Nothing. And so here we are, and people are honestly saying, oh, we're telling the truth. No, you're not, because you don't have substantive proof, because you can't prove or substantiate the things you're saying. And usually when that happens, that means people are lying. I'm not pulling any punches today. Y'all know what this is. You're lying. You don't have it. And so we're faced with someone. Listen, I don't think they'll mind me saying this. My church consultant, who, she's a faith engagement coordinator for the campaign. And her sister actually hired Bailey, and she said she met her mama in a Denny's. Now, I feel comfortable saying this because she said it to me, and she had planned to go public with it, but so many things have happened. And so she said she met her mama in a Denny's. That's where they conduct business. Now, that's what she told me. I haven't gone to the Denny's. I didn't see her mama at the Denny's, but that's odd. And she said, you can come by the office, we'll make arrangements for you to pick it up. And then she gave me, she being Bailey, gave me a email address, not a phone number. I thought that was also peculiar. Who is running around these days picking up papers? Who does that? It's 21st century. It's 2022. Or it's 2020 also, TOO. However you choose to look at it. Nobody's doing that. And during COVID, we all found a way to file share. Nobody's doing that. So it's very, very odd. But then again, these are the things that make you say, These are things that make you question, wonder, and raise an eyebrow. I had someone just tell me they thought that, more people were invested in this lie, and I don't think so. I think there are some messy people out there that like mess and like to know that someone else's life is a little complicated, and so they want to believe that because their lives are not at all as they would want them to be, and so because of that, they choose to believe it. But for the majority of people, they don't. They don't believe it. They don't like it. They don't want the mess. They want to know on the merits of the campaign. What are you for? What are you against? Well, Bailey doesn't have anything that she's for. She doesn't have a platform. She doesn't want to change anything in the court. And the truth is, yes, and Judge Kim Cooks is my friend, and I've known her a long time. But the truth is, she's done some really good things in that court. So if you're not in Dallas County and you're saying, well, what is all this about? Don't you worry your pretty little head about it. It's really about a bunch of nothing. It's about lies and gossip and innuendo. And that is the state of political parties. And that is what I want to talk about. I have found some very interesting news about so many people in the Democratic Party. But let me say this. You've heard me mention this name before. I'm going to do it again because we sip power to pour truth on this show. Then go grab your cup, babies, because I'm definitely going to fill it up because I'm about to drop names, call people out. I'm going to do what our grandparents called calling a spade a spade. Yes, I'm going to do that right now because there's a man named Jeff Dalton. Jeff Dalton's a white guy. And no, I'm not holding that against him before y'all try to pounce on me. But he's a white guy. I mean, that's, I'm a black lady. That's a white guy. That's what it is. So he, in 2 election cycles, he actually made income, $2.7 million in 2 election cycles. That's a lot of money. He lives in McKinney. For many, many years, they did not allow him to participate in Collin County politics. Now, there was once upon a time an international arbitrator whose wife actually is a judge, and I'm not going to call his name because I think that would be unfair since I didn't get permission. But he did tell me, although he does have a bad habit of saying things and not remembering them. But anyway, he did tell me that he had gotten word that Jeff Dalton was talking to Tea Partiers because he wasn't sure about his standing or his footing in the Democratic Party. And you say, why? Why would this man who has been successful enough to earn $2.7 million in 2 election cycles, how would he not be sure of his footing in the Democratic Party? Well, I'll tell you. I'm so glad you asked. The truth of the matter is that before we started really getting involved, and I don't mean just me or my team, I mean black women started to really participate in Dallas County politics, he was winning. And they had a plan on a statewide level as well to win. And he did unscrupulous things. Let me share some of the things I know that he did. I ran Judge Bridget Whitmore's campaign. She's an excellent judge. She's a wonderful person. For those of you that are in Dallas, she is a singing heels girl. So shout out to the OCT. That's Oak Cliff, Texas. I know y'all saying, what is that? The people in Afghanistan that watch me, howdy. That's Oak Cliff, Texas. And so we got word while we were canvassing in my neighborhood. Canvassing means block walking and putting material out and talking to people. And we got word that, well, she was a black Republican. Now, listen, let me tell you something. We don't grow black Republicans in Oak Cliff. I mean, I'm sure there's some Louise popping up somewhere, but, we pluck them. We get them out of there. And so it hurt her because at the time it was Trump. And to be aligned with the Republican Party was to spit in the face of everything that we as black Americans represent and hold near and dear. Now, don't pounce on me. I am not suggesting that there are no black Republicans. I said there were some weeds that sprout up. I mean, it happens. However, what we learned is they had sent a robocall out saying that she was a black Republican. Well, that's not true. That's a lie. I mean, I'm not naive to party politics. And I am not naive to the things that people will do to win. I mean, listen, look at Tom Brady. If you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. However, that's a bold-faced lie. They didn't call the other side of Interstate 30, which would be considered more predominantly Caucasian. They called the robocalls, which is be considered the black part of town, black folk. And I'm not saying F-O-L-K, I'm saying F-O-K-E. And black folk that are not just skin folk, but are kin folk. That's who they called and said she was a black Republican, because there is this idea that we are so naive. We are so low information voters, because that is the term that that the incumbent that she was running against used. And there is a part of, I dare say it out loud, the Texas Democratic Party that does believe that people that look like you and I, these sun-kissed beauties and sun-kissed gods, that we are low information voters. And that we only voted for Barack Obama because he was black. Not because he was a Harvard Law School graduate. Not because his wife was a Harvard Law School graduate. Not because he was head of the law review, an extremely smart and intelligent man. No, has nothing to do with that. It was just that he was skin folk. There is this idea that we are that naive, and they consider us low information voters. I mean, truly, you could go to this website if you were on Facebook called Texas Tip and Texas TIP, Texas Truth in Politics, and you would see the whole video where you could hear him actually say, and there's a whole article that came out that talks about him being low information voter. So to that end, I'm kind of saying all of this background to bring us to today. Today, we have people that are participating in the Democratic Party that are actually attempting to do what's right. We'll have her on the show next week, Jane Hamilton. I know Jane Hamilton for a good while, and I know the things that she's done. And there have been people that look like us that have tried to disavow what she's done. Eddie Bernice Johnson, for one, Congresswoman Eddie Bernice Johnson, who also happens to be a Soror. And I have to say that I have been quite disappointed, often, many times. I don't want to disparage or slight EBJ in any way, but she has often been unkind for no apparent reason, just mean and nasty. But the Democratic Party has always supported her. I recently reached out to Commissioner John Wiley Price office. I did not speak with him. I spoke with Daphne, who is his chief of staff, and I was telling her, listen, this challenger that we'll talk about in just a minute, she's got some really serious problems, and I was asked, and I think this is a legitimate question that Daphne asked. She said, well, if she's so awful, why has no one ever run against her before? Well, that's a valid question, but they have. They have, and what happens not just in Dallas County, not just Texas Democratic Party, all over the nation, they have the people that they choose. They pick them and they choose them, and these are the people that they choose to support. And so you have to ask yourself, well, why are these the people that they choose to support? And isn't that the most interesting question? I'm going to answer that question. I got to take a quick break. I'm going to answer that question for you. Give me a like if you want to hear the answer. If you're watching me on Facebook, you're watching me on YouTube, give me a like, a thumbs up, tell me howdy, and let's talk about it, because I'm going to unpack it. This is an onion with many layers, and I got time today, baby. This is Coy with the Black Tea Sip. In a minute.
Nourished skin is healthy skin. Simply Ardor skincare products provides luxurious nourishment for your body. Indulge in rich scrubs and body butters, and top it off with our sensational and unique aromatic lines of sprays and roll-on fragrances. It's simple and lovely. Simply Ardor. Love is real. Just spread it.
Hi. I'm Misty Mosteller, candidate for judge for Dallas County Court at Law number 3. I'm running for judge because there is a lack of humanity in our courts. Every person should feel they've had an opportunity to be heard on the merits of their case. As a practicing attorney of 22 years and a certified mediator, I know the importance of having your day in court. Inequality runs through every American system, and we must do better, starting with our courts. As a judge, I will apply the law, with a commitment to equality. I'm asking you to trust me, and that's a big ask. I realize your trust must be earned. I'm asking for a chance to earn your vote. Join me in this movement for change.
I'm gonna drop some names. I'm gonna say some things. I'm gonna get it. This is gonna be a heater, Angelo, because they're not expecting me to say it, but I don't know why. I don't have a clue as to why they would not believe that I would say the things that I'm going to say, because I'm a little fed up, to be honest. I'm a little fed up. Truth of the matter is, I was talking to you about Jeff Dalton. Now he thinks I just flat out don't like him. No, it's not I don't like him. I don't like the things that he's done. Here's an example of what he's done. There's a judge here. I'm not going to call her name because it would feel like an attack if I were to do that. But she thinks that, white folks' ice is colder. Some people think that. That's fine. I mean, to each his own. And so, and then, for me, let me just say this. I am unapologetically black. Doesn't mean that I don't like other races, ethnicities, people of ilks, backgrounds, tax brackets, but I am unapologetically black. I love the sun-kissed skin that I live in. And so, and I was raised to be that way. So it may be a little off-putting for some. And I'm saying this to say that this one particular judge that holds a county court seat, they would kind of put her front and center. They were grooming her. And I want to talk about that a little bit more, but I'll make my point now. They were grooming her. She was not fit for the bench, but they groomed her for that reason. And so they had a party, Democratic Party, and the candidates, elected officials, it's a Democratic Party. And one of the things that they served, Angela, was fried chicken and watermelon. So when Jeff Dalton saw Judge Aisha Redmond, who's a good judge, when he saw her, he said, feel free to help yourself to the fried chicken and watermelon. Now, was there fried chicken and watermelon there? Yes. That was on the menu. Why would this judge, who was she wasn't a judge at the time, organizer of this, why would she put fried chicken and watermelon there, but with knowing that the stereotype, and it's really just a ridiculous stereotype, because white people like fried chicken and watermelon too. If white people didn't like fried chicken and watermelon, we would not have it so abundantly, because they certainly just not making it for us. So it's a ridiculous thing. But because of the stereotypes that are associated with black people eating fried, and African Americans in particular, eating fried chicken and watermelon, it's offensive for a white man who is also known to be a racist, Jeff Dalton, to tell a black woman, help yourself to fried chicken and watermelon. That's offensive. So then you have people who have used him for years to run their campaigns. I'm certainly not saying I'm the only game in town, although we're pretty doggone good. However, there are other consultants, black. And so people tend to flock to him, even though they will tell you, I disagree with his ways. I don't like some of the things he does. I don't necessarily agree with him, but they feel like he's effective. And so that's part of not being unapologetically black. That's part of actually accepting the spoonfuls of bull that they serve up, and then you swallow. I am saying unequivocally and categorically that there are some people that have continued to hire this man, and they think that they're getting results. But let's be honest, 51% of the vote in Dallas County this election cycle comes from sun-kissed people, the melanation. 51%. Last 4 years ago, it was 52%. So I'm paying attention. This year is 51%. So you need 51.1 to win. Now, is every black person that can vote going to vote? No. Is every white person? No. It's not necessarily true that they outvote us, because if that were true, Donald Trump would be president. I mean, let's be honest. Let's just keep it 1,000. We're here to sip power and pour truth. Sip, sip, pour, pour. So you have this faction of a Democratic Party that tends to use the people that will further their agenda. And the Democratic agenda is not always aligned with people that look like me and you. That's not always the agenda. A lot of times the agenda is to serve their needs. And how do they do that? Well, they're known for holding the BIPOC. Let's use that word. The BIPOC vote, the black, indigenous, people of color. But the problem is with the Democratic Party that they often are not honest about their agenda. So we have some races going on. Now, I don't know this to be a fact. So allegedly, I'm saying allegedly, when Jasmine Crockett was supporting some people against the family court judges, both of them are running, they lost to the family court judges, and then they ran again. And she was supporting them. I was told that this group of people were aligned with Jeff Dalton. So now we have black women running against other black women. Well, why? There are other seats. And there are some judges that are not good. And it doesn't matter if they're black, if they're white, if they're green, or they're purple. I do not care what color the judge is. I just want them to do a good job. I want there to be fair. I want there to be equity in the courtroom. And I want there to be compassion when it calls for it and the law allows for it. Because state judges, these county judges that we're voting for, they actually hold a lot of power. The federal court judges are the ones that are restricted. It's like chutes and ladders to those people. They find they use the sentencing guidelines. X amount of money was, was extorted, was misused. There was fraud. There was waste. Okay, and then that determines how many years you do. So I mean, it's literally chutes, ladders. Okay, $500,000 come way over here to 8, and then it's a range between, 8 and 11 maybe, and then they choose to give you 8. That's not state. State has a lot of control, a lot of power in their decision making. Now, how they choose to wield that power, well, isn't that the question? Ultimately, that is the question. So let me tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to tell y'all what's going on in Dallas County politics. I'm about to unpack this thing because I've pretty much had enough. And let me say this to the people that are out there stealing yard signs, y'all need to stop. That's ridiculous. Yard signs are high. But aside from that, it's just childish. Why are y'all out here stealing people's yard signs? Anyway, to me, it's utterly ridiculous. But here is the truth about Dallas County. And then, there are other counties that have had the same kind of situations. Here's the truth. Dallas County politics is about who has, quote unquote, paid their dues. And I told you, I talked to Daphne, and she said, well, if she's that bad, talking about this one particular judge, that I am going to talk about. And if you want me to tell you what she said, because she used the N-word, and I told you at the top of the hour, then drop me a like. Give me a howdy, wave your hand at me, because I really want to know that you want to know what I'm saying, because here is the truth about Dallas County politics. That's not just Dallas County. It's Harris County, it's Bexar County, or Bexar County, depending on where you live. It's in Waxahachie, it's in Amarillo. It is about the people that they deem acceptable. They get permission to run. There's a judge here named Stacey Williams. I like Stacey. Consider Stacey a friend. Stacey did not ask for permission from the Democratic Party. She did not tell anyone that she wanted to run, and she certainly didn't wait to be groomed to be a judge. She graduated from Georgetown Law School, so she's smart. She ran her campaign. Oh, and they were awful to her. I think her twin sister, who is also a friend, Tracy, has PTSD from it because of the way she was treated. Black woman, treated very poorly by the Democratic Party. Well, they didn't expect her to be able to run and win. And she did. She did just that. She ran and she won. When that happened, they wanted to punish her. They asked that you pay into the fund for Dallas County Democratic Party so that they have money to send out mail-in ballots and to chase the ballot and that kind of thing. Well, Stacey wrote a check. They sent her a check back. You know why they sent her check back? You guessed it. Oh, my God, y'all. My viewers are so smart, Angelo, because Jeff Dalton was running the Dallas County Democratic Party, and Carol Donovan, who is no longer the Dallas County Democratic chair, they fell out. She went on. She's a very rich white lady lawyer. But they would use the Dallas County Democratic Party money to further their own endeavors. So if you hired Jeff Dalton, you got the benefit of Carol Donovan being your campaign manager. I know it. I know. Talk about a conflict of interest. That is how Dallas County was run for a long time. So people felt that they had to go to Jeff Dalton and Carol Donovan if they wanted to win. And part of that was to apologize for your blackness, to not be able to fully live in your skin, and to have your skin, your blackness, be used to further other endeavors. Here's what I'm talking about. last election cycle, there were several white men judges, and not all of them were bad judges. I want to be really honest about that. There were some that needed to go, and they did. But not all of them were bad judges. But when they became concerned, let's use that word, about whether or not they were going to be able to maintain their judgeship, they were paraded around. I consider this pandering. And pandering is when you placate the audience and you tell them you're with them. You know how they do. Like every 4 years, they come and shake a tambourine. Or in our pulpits, and they hold amazing, they hold the A a little longer, they go amazing. You know, they do that kind of stuff. Like they with us, you know. But it happens over only 4 years. They come and they parade them. So that's what happened. You had these white men judges, and they were with Eddie Bernice Johnson, Congresswoman, Royce West, State Senator, John Wiley Price, County Commissioner, and a few others paraded around where these are like, okay, these are our trusted darkies. Let's put these white people with these colors and all the colored people on the other side of I-30 where 52% of the vote was coming from last election cycle. They'll see them together and they will vote for them because the idea is that we're not very smart. We're low information voters. That's actually one of the incumbents that's no longer sitting on the bench. He actually used those words. I told you, you can find it. Bill Ziebel is his name. It was on, I believe, KERA. There you go. Because, you know, we do win truth on this show. And so you had these people paraded around with the coloreds because you're supposed to vote for them. Now, were they all bad judges? No. But understand that these black people who were aligned with the white men judges were aligned with them against black women, qualified black women, Georgetown Law School. One Yale undergrad, Tulane Law School, actually graduated from the same law school that of the man she was challenging. There's no such thing in politics where we say, well, you know, may not help her, but I'm not going to hurt her. I may not help him, but I'm not going to hurt him, which means you just stay out the race. But I don't think you can do that when you've had a long time in politics, when you have to be apologetically black. This is Corey with the Black Tea Sip. I'm going to take a quick break. Y'all stay with me. Give me a like if you want me to tell you what's really going on. I'm going to unpack it. I'm telling you about 4 years ago. Trust and believe I'm about to bring it to present day. Early voting starts February 14th, and I'm here for it, baby.
Do you want to find a stable job in a growing field? IT jobs such as network systems administrators, cybersecurity, programming, cloud, and computer systems analysts are expected to increase 25% by 2022. Texas Premier Technology Institute offers training for top certifications such as CompTIA, Cisco, and Microsoft in less than 12 weeks. And if you're unemployed or underemployed, you may qualify for free tuition. Contact TPTI at 1-888-490-TPTI or check them out on the web at tpti.us.
Now available, T.H. Moore's newest novel, titled I Am, follows a young African-American couple who are forced to pick up the pieces of their marriage after the violent loss of their young godson at the hands of a local white policeman. The loss sparks not only their community's anger, but also the rage of a vigilante who initiates a nationwide killing spree targeted at corrupt police officers. New York Times best-selling author Omar Tyree praises T.H. Moore's new novel as an audacious story and read. Dr. Christopher C. Irving, CEO of the Miller Institute for Leadership and Diversity in America, calls it a daring story. I Am by T.H. Moore, now available at Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, and at thmoore.com.
Hi, I'm Misty Mosteller, candidate for County Court at Law number 3. I'm running for judge because there is a lack of humanity in our courts. Every person should feel they've had an opportunity to be heard on the merits of their case. As a practicing attorney of 22 years and a certified mediator, I know the importance of having your day in court. Inequality runs through every American system, and we must do better, starting with our courts. As a judge, I will apply the law, not with blinders on, but fairly, professionally, and with a commitment to equality. I'm asking you to trust me, and that's a big ask. I realize your trust must be earned. I'm asking for a chance to earn your vote. Join me in this movement for change.
Because I'm a little irritated, a little annoyed. I'm gonna talk about some things. I'm gonna share some things. I'm gonna say some things. It's probably gonna get me in trouble. But if God be for me, who can be against me? So today I'm talking about some things that happened 4 years ago, and I'm bringing it to present day because I want to talk about a white lady judge that's been on the bench for 20 years who an attorney said that she was overheard saying, "I'm tired of these nigger churches." I want to talk about it today. I'm going to tell you all about it. And the truth of the matter is, I'm a little bit annoyed, as you can tell, if you've been listening to me, I'm annoyed with the fact that we protect people because of party politics. When we represent a candidate, it is people over party. It is because we are tired of placating us with bull. It's almost like they have bred us to keep our expectations low. Well, no, ain't no cotton picking Negroes over here. They have run someone against Judge Kim Cooks, every election cycle. And then you say, well, why? Well, they say Kim is mean. Well, Kim, listen, let me say this. Eric Moyer is a very unkind person. I've had the displeasure of running into him several times. He is a black man who's a Harvard graduate, so he's a learned man, an educated man, but he is mean. He doesn't remember this, but I had a case in his court, and the attorney called in and asked would he sign the order for me because he was stuck out of town, coming back from out of town, and there had been a wreck with an 18-wheeler and he could not get there. Moyer treated me like I had a tail for no apparent reason. He happens to be the best friend of Jeff Dalton. I think I should say that too. He's had very poor ratings when they do these anonymous attorney rating where they rate the judges. His are always in the toilet. But, he has been able to maintain. And when I say things about him, people are like, really? Honestly? Because when he does, show up in the community, then they think he's one of us because, he can give dap with the best of them. But I also know that when some black women ran and won as judges and they took it to their chambers and were running their courts, he went to them and asked them about being under the umbrella of the Democratic toolbox, which is Jeff Dalton. And one in particular was like, you get the HELL out of my office. Like you out of my chambers. You know. Because we know the things that Jeff Dalton has done. So there's some step and fetch it Negroes, and then there are some of us that are unapologetically black. And then there are some that want to be unapologetically black, but they're not comfortable in their blackness to step out and be black and be representational of the rest of us, to be vocal about what's going on and to try their best to make real changes. And there are some of those. I guess that's in every culture. I'm certainly not going to just limit it to black culture, but I am ingrained in the fabric of black culture, and I've had a little bit enough. So let me try to bring it up to date. Some of you know that I have black clients and I have white clients, so I don't differentiate. All the money's green. So, and if you're a decent judge or a decent person, we want to try to help you maintain. And then sometimes you find yourself in a position where you have relationships that kind of require you to represent someone that you probably wouldn't have. That's the game. That is consulting. And I'm just going to be honest with y'all. It doesn't happen to us very often, but it has happened. It's really only happened once, but it has happened, maybe twice. So we do that so that we can continue to do the work in our community. And we make sure that these people are infusing money into our community, whether it's to help other elected officials or candidates or something. But we do take that to heart, and we do try to ensure that we don't disavow the community when you have to take the one client that you probably wouldn't, but you do because of your relationships. Now, I'm saying that that is part of the game. So you said, well, you just said all this stuff about Jeff Dalton. What are you talking about? Herein lies the difference. No one's going to ever say I'm racist. Well, they probably could, but they'd be lying. I'm not. I love people, but I love good people. I don't like bad people. Like, I'm honest about who people are. And some people who, you know, I should have a relationship with, I'm affiliated with either through the sorority or growing up in the church or Jack and Jill or something. I know them, but I would not represent them because they're just not good for the culture. They're not good for the community. And then there are others that I support. I may not work with or for, but I support them. And I support them publicly. Here is what I know. When you do not ask for permission from in the party politics, in the Democratic Party, they punish you. So there are some people that are very big in Dallas County politics that have never given my clients money ever, but are champions of the incumbents. Champions of the incumbent. Even to the point where they will support a bad judge and they know it's a bad judge, but it supports them. I understand that there's a lady named Lisa Blue who used to be married. Well, he passed away. So she was married to the man. You know Barron and Bud, the asbestos company? I'm calling them a company because they've made their mint on asbestos litigation. And so Barron and Bud is a very well-recognized plaintiff's firm. Well, her husband was Barron of Barron and Bud. And he is responsible for the Democratic Trust. So they took their money out of Barron and Bud and they dropped the money into this Democratic Trust, which actually helped pay salaries for people to flip the county from Republican to Democrat back in 2006. So I am certainly not saying that these are horrible people, Angelo. I'm not saying that. I am saying this is what occurred. Because on this show, we try to get it right. This is what occurred. It's factual. It's documented. There are articles written about it. Okay. And I have a couple of friends that were paid through that to flip the county, to put Craig Watkins as the first black district attorney in the state of Texas. So there was some good that came out of that. I understand that since Barron's passing, Mr. Barron's passing, Lisa Blue, his wife, has really tried to play party politics. And she has never given, to my knowledge, any client that I have represented any money. They are all Democrats. Some of them were challengers to Democrats, and some of them were incumbents, and she still did not give them money. They'd already won. They were already sitting on the bench. They'd already done their thing, if you will. She did not give them any money. Did not support their candidacy. Did not support them after they became judge. Did not support them in any way. Well, so we have to think, well, it did not support or further her endeavors, so she didn't help. And then you have others that do help, that do get in the fight, that, you know, do participate to a degree. Because we as black people never see the money that our counterparts get. That's a given. We know that happens. So I want to revisit the whole Jeff Dalton thing. Remember I told you he was the consultant. Carol Donovan used to be the campaign manager of Dallas County Democratic Party. Now it's Christy Nobles. You know, Carol Donovan, her and Jeff had a business divorce. She got married. She's a very rich, very rich white lawyer, and she's married to a very wealthy white lawyer. So, you know, she was just playing politics. You know, like playing in sandbox. And they had a business divorce, and so she's gone on. But before she left, I remember seeing my friend Cheryl, and she was at the DeSoto polling location. And I said, "Oh, are you out here working as a poll greeter?" She said, "Yeah." And I said, "Hey, you know," and so, you know, my boyfriend says I can, yeah, girl, yeah, child, with the best of them. And so we were talking. And I said, "Oh, well, who are you supporting?" And the cards were none of the people that I know she wants to support. So when she tells me that, I say, well, okay, well, who has such and such cards? Now, these are the incumbents, right? And so I'm looking for my people because it is very difficult for me to understand that if you're supporting incumbents with Dallas County Democratic funds, then the people that are already judges, regardless of the color of their skin, should be their cards at the polling stations, their literature, or their lit, as we call it, would be passed out, would be circulated and distributed. And that was not the case. So, to that end, I start talking about the fact that they have done some unscrupulous things. I told you before, they sent a robocall out and said that she is now a judge, was a black Republican. But not just that, they put fake candidates in the race. So they put people who had absolutely no intention on running at all. There's no website. If it is, it's little to nothing. They're not campaigning. They don't have any literature. They're fake candidates. One of them's name was Teeny Martini. She drove a little, I don't know what she drives now, but then she drove a little yellow Porsche, and she was like a little cheerleader bouncing up and down in my face. It was like a gnat. I just couldn't shoot her out of my face. And so, I was very upset about that, and there was a lot that was going on that was deliberate attack upon black women judges. Okay. And so when I shared with my friend Cheryl what exactly was going on, she was horrified. She was like, what? You mean to tell me that we're not supporting, and she called several names. And I said, no, where are those cards? They all had on these blue Democratic shirts, and they were just out there working. And they were told that someone else had their cards, and they just needed them to pass out this card. Well, why would you think that would be untrue? So they did their jobs. But what really happened is the fact that they were not supporting those incumbents, the ones that were already judges at all. They were only supporting the ones that paid Jeff Dalton. Now, you also have to understand, Jeff Dalton doesn't really do anything. I mean, he does organize campaign fundraisers, and he partners you with some other people that raise a lot of money, and he sends out a slate. There's no real voter outreach. Their idea of voter outreach is what I said before. Parade you around with some colored people that have been in office for a while so that you can capitalize on that vote. Beyond that, there is no what we call GOTV, get out the vote. Because the same person who said that we were low information voters, that was his client. See, there's a mentality here. And I do believe that mentality has trickled down into the Democratic Party at large. I have to take a break. I'm going to tell you exactly what I'm talking about. I'm going to call names. I'm going to talk about people. I'm going to talk about some of these races that are going on now. There is Republican money being infused into a congressional race. Yes, you heard me. Remember the chief of staff? He's about 4 feet tall. That he worked for Trump for about 45 seconds. Scaramucci, cryptocurrency. They are looking to put $1 million into the race on behalf of a candidate for Congressional District 30, CD30. I'm telling it. I'm talking about it all today. This is Car with the Black Tea Sip. Grab your cup, baby. It's about to get hot. Get you some mittens.
What's up, everyone? Candyman from the Candyman Show here, broadcasting live each week on our new date and time, Tuesday nights from 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Central Standard Time here at FBRN Studios at Choctaw Stadium in Arlington, Texas. Just log on. I'll be bringing out some amazing local artists, wrestlers, MMA, boxing, Muay Thai fighters as well. So be sure to check me out every Tuesday night from 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. The Candyman Show on FBRN.US. Jump in.
Podcasters, the name of the game is to get more visibility for your podcast so you can gain more credibility with your audience, thus more profitability. If you're ready to start syndicating your podcast and massively grow your audience and influence, then contact Fishbowl Radio Network today at 817-633-4880. Fishbowl Radio Network is one of the largest streaming platforms in the world, and now your podcast can be heard all over the world by the listening audience that Fishbowl Radio Network network has amassed over the last 11 years. With over 6 million impressions a month and growing, this is a platform that all podcasters should be on to create greater visibility for their podcast. Jump in today and be a part of the Fishbowl family, streaming great live internet radio shows and podcasts 24/7. 817-633-4880. Jump in.
Hello everyone, this is
Eddie
and Maria, owners of the Pinche Smokers Tex-Mex Barbecue.
If you're looking for some good finger-licking barbecue, come check us out.
We are located in the Oak Cliff area. We also offer catering for weddings, quinces, and any other type of occasions. You can contact us at 214-579-0570.
You can find us on social media at Pinche Smokers Tex-Mex Barbecue LLC on Instagram, Facebook, and Snapchat.
Come check us out, the best barbecue in the DFW.
Hey DFW, it's Luna and Nika, owners of Real Dallas Properties and Management, here to serve all your real estate needs. Nika, tell them what we do.
So we're a Dallas-based boutique real estate brokerage, and we're full service, which means we can help with every and any type of real estate transaction.
That's right, we got your back at every stage of life.
Whether you need an apartment, a home rental, to buying your first home, selling that home, buying investments, to even property management.
And don't forget commercial, looking for a new space for your business? We got you on that too. You can reach us on Instagram at Real Dallas Properties or shop all properties on the market at RealDallasProperties.com.
Hi, this is Diane Marion Eunice, and I am a licensed marriage and family therapist. For the past 9 years, I have worked with over 300 couples in the areas of sexual health, communication, and conflict resolution. If you are interested in rebuilding connection and intimacy with your partner, please contact me today. I can be reached at 682-201-8175, or you can email me at diane@letstalkrelationships.org, or visit my website at www.letstalkrelationships.org. And remember, you can't heal if you refuse to deal.
Attention, Kiko is hiring. You heard right, Kiko is hiring. Kiko is looking for you to fill the following positions: seamstress, machine operators, forklift drivers, loaders, packers, and baggers. 2 shifts are available. First shift Monday to Friday, 7 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Saturday, and 6 a.m. to 12 p.m. overtime. And second shift Monday to Friday, 4:30 p.m. to 1 a.m. Saturday, and 12 p.m. to 6 p.m. overtime. Kiko offers great medical benefits just 30 days after hire, and company match 401k. Visit us at KikoHome.com and submit your resume to Cariano@lkiko.com. You can also apply in person at 5450 West Keith Boulevard in Dallas. All interviews are conducted in person. Don't miss this great opportunity. Get hired today at Kiko.
Nourished skin is healthy skin. Simply Ardor skincare products provides luxurious nourishment for your body. Indulge in rich scrubs and body butters, and top it off with our sensational and unique aromatic lines of sprays and roll-on fragrances. It's simple and lovely. Simply Ardor. Love is real. Just spread it.
I'm not saying I'm going to rule the world or I'm going to change the world, but I guarantee that I will spark the brain that will change the world. And that's our job.
Tell me why, tell me why, tell me why. Why can't we live together? Tell me why, tell me why. Why can't we live together? Everybody wants to live together. Why can't we live together?
Hello, all you melanated beauties, sun-kissed by God's lips. This is Coy with your black tea sip. I'm sipping power to pour you the truth. Go grab your cup. Let's fill it up.
All right, and we're back. This is Coy with the Black Tea Sip. If you're just joining us, I'm talking about the Democratic Party and how they operate, and how my experiences with the Democratic Party have been eyebrow raising. Because, you know, when you think about party and you think about, well, the Democratic Party, and they say that they love people and that they support all kinds of people and they're for equal rights and equal treatment, that is what they say. However, let me just share an experience that I've had. So we're working with a client who actually is the right person for the job. Like, this person is the person who should have the job of judge. And we have had a very difficult time getting the data. So when you are a candidate or you're running for re-election, you pay into a system called VAN. You can find it on the web, VAN, VAN. It is the Democrats' gathering or collection of data. It tells you who the Democrats are. And even if someone had been Republican past, but they voted in the Democratic primary, that information you find out through this system. Well, as you know, in the state of Texas and all over the United States, the Republicans have redrawn the lines. And what they do when they redraw the lines, and let me just say this. Let me just interject this. Please let me get this out. Let me tell you what I don't understand. Why can the Republicans do this to us? And we can't never, even if we're in office, we don't even plan well enough to be in office when it's time for the census and the redrawing of the lines. Okay, that's parenthetically speaking. So here we are. We get this data after they redraw the lines. All the data is not in there. So candidates are not even able to recognize their own Democratic neighbors because the identifying information that tells you who's who for the Democratic primary is not in there. Now, that's a failure of whom? Okay. Then not only are some people not able to get the data, because I did talk to someone who's running for a county commissioner, and she said, and this is not a black thing, this is you haven't asked the establishment and have been given the permission thing. So this is not a black and a white thing, okay? Because all black people not good, all white people not bad. Period. So, and this lady is white. She said the data is not there for them. Well, then how are you supposed to effectively run? Here's the deal with the client that we are representing. She couldn't get it. After paying her money, almost $1,000, she couldn't get it. Every email address associated with her name seemingly was blocked. Couldn't get the data. Now, I called the national van, and they told me, I would love to help you, and I think I know what the issue is. However, I cannot help you because of the contract that was signed from National Van to the individual states, and your state in particular, Texas, does not allow us. So what has to happen is the county, in my case, Dallas County, but it could be Harris County, Bexar County, whatever, Collin County, Denton County. They have to then throw their hands up and say, oh, we can't do it, and then it goes to the state. And then Texas has to say, oh, we can't do it. Oh, please help us, rescue us on the national level. Well, Texans are not going to do that. I mean, that's evident. We're not going to do that. So from December 20th to late January, early February, she did not have any access to that. Some access because we knew some people and there were things that we could do, but limited access. It certainly wasn't what she paid for. Now, I had to contact a friend of mine that works for the state for an elected official. I had to reach out to him. So he says, all right, let me get access. He can't get in. This guy has been doing this for state senators, representatives that represent the state. I mean, so the House, the Senate, local, well, the city council, and not just here locally, like throughout the state. And I've worked with him for a number of years. It took him. He said, well, once they see my name, we're going to see what happens. But I said, you see what I mean? He said, yes, this is deliberate. It was a concerted effort to ensure that she could not access the data because she's not part of the party plan. She had the unmitigated gall, like so many before her, to actually respect herself enough to know that she could run and campaign for an office that she was seeking. She actually believed that she should replace someone who can't do their job effectively. I'm going to tell you who that person is in just a minute. Because I know y'all saying, well, who is it, Coy? I'm going to tell you. I promise. I just need to get all this out. Because when I drop this dime, y'all going to be like, well, I'll be doggone. Y'all probably won't go say the doggone part, like you'll probably use another word. But I'm going to say doggone because, I'm on the radio, my mama listens, and, we don't want to upset Biddy. So here's the thing. We were able to finally get in. But it's so late. And that was the plan. Because the Texas Republicans, not only did they screw around with mail-in ballots and try to hook boogie, Super Sunday when we talk about souls to the polls, not only were they successful doing those things, they were also successful moving the date up. So the last date that you could state your intention to run was December 14th. 2 months later, so you get 2 months to campaign. Now, I told you, prior to last election cycle, people probably would have stated their intention to run before the last day. But many people did it that day so they would not get the fake candidates in the race. Let me tell you about that. Fake candidates in the race do a couple of things. One, it confuses the voter. Like now you have, let's say Democratic primary. And Dallas County is a Democratic county. So because it's a Democratic county, when you win the Democratic primary and both are Democrats and there's no Republican running, and oftentimes there's not because it's a Democratic county, shout out to Jane Hamilton, for working with it to make sure it was a Democratic county. When you do that, you win. When you win the primary, you've won. I mean, you still campaign. You want people to know your name for the general, but you don't have an opponent. So so the Democratic primary for Dallas County, that for a lot of people, that's it. There is no, working to try to beat somebody in November. That's it. So when you move the date up, then you give them less time to be able to effectively campaign. When you rob them of their opportunity to access the data they've actually paid for, like in Van, then you manipulate their ability to run a successful race. Now, I'm not telling you that I expect it to always be a fair fight. Sometimes it's a boxing match and sometimes it's a street brawl. 4 years ago, street brawl. However, I don't expect people to be able to manipulate the data that comes from the state, your ability to access the data that comes from the state. And let me tell you why. Some people will shrug their shoulders and say, oh, that's politics. Well, it's politics for the people who are powerful. It's not politics for the people who don't have the money, don't have the influence, and are actually just out here trying to meet voters where they are and tell them what they plan to do different, how they plan to improve, how they plan to work with them. That is different than being able to shut down a system. Now, somebody else is out there listening, oh, I don't believe that. Believe it, baby. Happens all the time. It's just like a robocall that goes out to just one side of town saying you're a black Republican. Because there is an idea that you can be manipulated. So here we are, out here campaigning. You have people like Judge Kim Cooks, who has done a lot of good in her court. She has decided that there should not be taxpayers' money where you are paying for someone to be in jail and three hots and a cot. 3 hot meals in a cot, because they can't pay child support, because they lost their job, or they just can't find a job, and they are trying, but just really don't have the resources. That's one thing, okay? So she used to use Phoenix House, now she uses the Choice Program, so she doesn't throw them in jail. She says, okay, I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to get you some job training skills. We're going to get you some interviewing skills, resume writing. We'll work with you. You come back 30 days, 60 days, and then we'll be able to assess your child support or enforce your child support. That person then becomes an active, productive, financially contributing parent, which makes them feel good. So then there is an ability to create self-esteem in this person that helps the relationship between co-parenting. There is a lot of psychological benefits to doing it that way. There's also, in her court, she has taken the time to work with the DA's office so that CPS doesn't just snatch children out of the home and place them in foster care. Now you actually have the opportunity to go with, as a child, being removed from your home, from a neighbor to a family member, a church member, before you are placed in foster care with complete strangers. Those are good platforms coming out of the family court. The fact that we're talking about changing that because someone came out and said some personal things about the person, that's politics now, right? That's how we do business now. Not thinking about the impact that it's going to have on the people that are going in that court. Now, when I talk about the court, I want to be really clear because there are a lot of things that are happening in these Dallas County courts. I know that my cousin actually told me, listen, I actually needed something signed. And he said to me, who is that judge that everybody loves? And I said, oh, Hoffman. And he said, yes. Hoffman's a white man. He's a good judge. He's a decent person. I know him, and he's one of my clients. He said Hoffman, it was a thing with his grandmother's house, not my grandmother, his grandmother. And he said, he needed to get it reviewed and signed, and it just sprung up. And he was able to go to another judge that looks like us and tell that person what was going on, and they were like, oh, okay, I understand. Because you know why? They understood the situation. They know that we have our grandparents are passing away and people are attaching themselves to their homes. I have a very dear friend who her great aunt's house has been sold and a family is living in it, and they have forged the deed. These are things that happen to us. And what my cousin was being told is it would take months to sort that out. He didn't have months. They were about to lose the house. So when we talk about the things that are going on in our community and how we need people to help us that look like us because they understand us, this same judge had some people in our court realize that they were pro se or they didn't have an attorney. They didn't understand what was going on. So she set it out, give them more time. I have known judges to go on with court as if nothing was wrong, as if nothing has happened. And in that time, people have been severely hurt. They have been significantly mistreated in that process. So here we are, up to date. There are some contentious races. There is a race for Congressional District 30 that has Jasmine Crockett, which is a name that you know, and Jane Hamilton, Abel, I'm sorry, I don't want to butcher his last name, I don't know it, Jessica Mason, and a school teacher. I don't know if it's Lakeisha or Lakeitha, I'm not sure. And there are a lot of people in the race. Let me just speak to this. Jane Hamilton is my friend. She's my sorority sister. I've known her a long time. She's done some significant good works. She doesn't mind getting in good trouble. With that being said, she is the only one that I think is qualified. Doesn't have anything to do with the fact that she's my friend. She's qualified. She has been working in politics for 20 years. She has been fighting the good fight. Here's an example of Jane Hamilton, and then I'll talk about some of the other things that are going on. Example of Jane Hamilton is, because I had several people say, well, I don't know her. Well, you may not know her, but you know her work. Because the fact that you can vote anywhere in the county is Jane Hamilton. You don't have to go to a precinct anymore. You can vote anywhere. You work in Richardson, you live in Duncanville, the traffic is too heavy, you can go and vote in Richardson because it's in the county. You can vote with a utility bill. And the reason you can vote with a utility bill is because the governor of the state of Texas wanted to say, well, you can't vote with a college ID. However, you can vote with a gun license. Well, who had gun licenses? You can vote with a hunting license. Come on now. You need a state-issued ID. Because if your ID expired, some kind of way your face disappeared or morphed off the license so they couldn't verify it was you, it had to be a valid license. Well, sometimes people get into traffic tickets, and because of the fines are so exorbitant and the interest on the fines, they oftentimes lose their license and can't get it. Inspection stickers they can't pass with the emissions test, but they still have to go to work because they can't afford to buy a new car. So we're right now in the federal government talking about setting what the minimum wage to a livable wage. And so that is disavowed by Republicans. But everybody doesn't live in the same circumstances. And because everyone doesn't live in the same circumstances, what tends to happen is people who are of color, and black folks in particular, tend to get punished for participating in the process of life. You know, we've had a lot of things happen, and we discussed them on this show. But I really do want people to understand that there are certain experiences that we may not have personally, but that does not disavow the fact that people are really going through some tough times. We've had people deal with COVID. We've had people lose loved ones who were the high earners in the family, the breadwinners, the ones who, you know, there are families that have to have 2 checks to survive. When that check is compromised or it goes away, the people are put in situations. We see all over the news where people are having to go to food banks that never had to go to food banks for. People in the military are having to go to food banks. Their spouses and children are having to go to food banks. So everybody doesn't have the same set of circumstances. So when you say, well, no, you cannot vote, you cannot participate in this process because you don't have a valid ID. Well, now because of Jane Hamilton, you can have a utility bill. You don't have to have a valid ID. They try to give you a provisional ballot. They put Crystal Mason in jail when they weren't going to even count the ballot. They don't count provisional ballots. So understand that no crime had really occurred. There was nothing that really happened. You know, she voted. And they said, black people, we really want to go back to literacy test and poll tax. Can't vote. So, gotcha. That is what's happening. Now, in this race, I told you I was going to talk about some things. Jessica Mason, she had some canvassers that came to my door. They told me Jessica Mason was going to clear up health care. She was going to fix prison. She was going to be prison reform, police reform. I mean, baby, she was going to do it all. She was checking all the boxes. She would be a freshman congress member. No real resources. I haven't seen anything about endorsements. I'm not saying that she doesn't have them, because it's not like I'm following her like that. But I do get her emails, and I appreciate the work that this sister is doing. She is putting in the work. But she's over-promising, and she has to under-deliver because she doesn't have the ability to do that. AOC and the squad have been in Congress, and what have they accomplished? They still kicking in people's doors and shooting them dead. That poor baby in Minnesota that was trying to get to Texas, here to in North Texas, home to his mother. They are still chokeholding because we haven't been able to get a complete ban on that. We didn't pass the George Floyd Act. We're still trying to get the John Lewis Act passed. And this baby is going to clear it all up. I mean, baby, she is like Samantha from Bewitched. She's twiddling her nose and fixing it all. It's impossible. You don't have the relationships. And the only way that bills are passed is through relationships. To understand policy, to have people that work with you and for you and want to be with you in the fight and in the struggle. And the only way you get that is through relationships, because that's all politics is. I told you, they want you to be groomed. First, you have to ask for permission. And I don't think that Jane Hamilton asked for permission. She continued to do the work. She got out of politics for a while. And I think that the calling was on her to come back. So you got Jessica Mason, who's out here trying to do the work. Good for her. And then you have Abel or Abel, depending on who you talk to, young brother, trying to do the right thing, has worked in politics. But he just popped up. I never heard of him before. Now I'm a little older, so maybe that doesn't mean anything. But he just kind of sprouted up, So I'm not sure about him delivering. But then you have Jasmine Crockett, who has this ghostly image of EBJ alongside her on the, listen, I find that to be creepy. Now, I guess what they were trying to do is say she's endorsed by EBJ, but here's my problem with that. You got Eddie Bernice Johnson out here saying, are you ready, Jasmine? It's just creepy. These flames, it's kind of demonic looking with these flames and fire. It just gave me the heebie-jeebies. And she's saying she's going to be able to do all these things because she's already done it. Now, listen, on this show, we sip power to pour truth. Here's the truth. Jasmine hadn't done diddly squat. I'm just going to say it out of my mouth. This is not an attack on Jasmine. I'm a proponent of truth, justice, and the Black American way. Now, she hasn't done anything. That's just the truth. She hasn't done anything. Jasmine Crockett was recently supposed to do a panel on Black history. The headquarter company is an IT company, and they're headquartered in Israel. Probably a lot of money there. But they wanted to support the cause, power to the people. And so they had a Black history panel to really discuss some of the issues. And I have a friend that was on there. Jasmine Crockett didn't even tell them, y'all, this is a bad time for me. I'm campaigning. She was, and this is a quote from the organizers, unresponsive and unprofessional. I actually happened to be sitting in the meeting with church ministers, and she spoke. And when they asked her about why they should support her, and she gave this answer about EBJ was going to be in Washington and she was going to be here working. It was a weird answer, and it didn't strike me. But I mean, I am biased. I believe that Jane is the best choice. But then she said something that made the preachers start to busy themselves. They started putting their food up. They started going back to their plate, because when she was asked about the interaction that she had with them previously, and this is not verbatim, she said something to the effect that she had to be, because of what was required of her to campaign, she had to call donors and she had to be out there. And so she really didn't have time for the interaction. They all looked at her. I was busy myself on my phone, and that caught my attention. And then there's this about Jasmine. I told you earlier that there was a candidate that had an infusion of Republican money. So Scaramucci, who used to be the chief of staff for Donald Trump for about 45 seconds, the little bitty one, we had some more, but he was like the littlest one. I'm using that as a technical term, the littlest one. He has this cryptocurrency, and they want cryptocurrency to be unregulated. I'm sure he called everybody. They are looking to drop $1 million in this congressional race. So the Republicans announced that they are giving Jasmine Crockett $1 million in the infusion of this race. They are going to drop $1 million. You heard me loud and clear. $1 million to support Jasmine Crockett. Now, you have to ask yourself why. Why would they give Jasmine Crockett $1 million? She had to tell them she was going to do something. And we know that what they want is to unregulate cryptocurrency. The problem with not having regulations around cryptocurrency is, one, when a church or a school or a hospital is held ransom because someone has gotten into their system and is holding their data hostage, and they want them to pay a ransom, they ask for it to be paid in cryptocurrency. There's no way to track it. We had a hospital up north that actually had to turn away. This is a few years back, at 2016, 2017 time frame. You can Google it. It's Googleable. That had to turn away heart transplant patients because the data was compromised, and the hackers were in their system. So to leave it unregulated, where there is no tracking, there are no laws wrapped around it, puts us in jeopardy. But the Republicans are the small deregulation people. So if you're giving $1 million to Jasmine Crockett, then she told you something you wanted to hear. I don't know what that was, but I know you don't give people $1 million when they tell you something you don't want to hear. I got that much sense on my own. I'm going to take a quick break, and then I want to tell you about nigger churches, because somebody said they were tired of dealing with them white lady that's running for a re-election. This is Coy with the Black Tea Step. Stay with me.
Do you want to find a stable job in a growing field? IT jobs such as network systems administrators, cybersecurity, programming, cloud, and computer systems analysts are expected to increase 25% by 2022. Texas Premier Technology Institute offers training for top certifications such as CompTIA, Cisco, and Microsoft in less than 12 weeks. And if you're unemployed or underemployed, you may qualify for free tuition. Contact TPTI at 1-888-490-TPTI or check them out on the web at tpti.us.
Now available, T.H. Moore's newest novel titled I Am follows a young African-American couple who are forced to pick up the pieces of their marriage after the violent loss of their young godson at the hands of a local white policeman. The loss sparks not only their community's anger, but also the rage of a vigilante who initiates a nationwide killing spree targeted at corrupt police officers. New York Times best-selling author Omar Tyree praises T.H. Moore's new novel as an audacious story and read. Dr. Christopher C. Irving, CEO of the Miller Institute for Leadership and Diversity in America, calls it a daring story. I Am by T.H. Moore, now available at Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, and at thmoore.com.
All right, and we're back. This is Corey with the Black Tea Sip. So I've been holding your attention because you want to know about the judge that said she's tired of dealing with nigger church. Somebody said, why aren't you saying N-word? Because, listen, I'm not supposed to make other people feel comfortable about disrespecting me. That's why I'm not saying N-word. I didn't come up with the word. I believe that the word came from the word negus, N-E-G-U-S, all hail negus, which means royalty in Ethiopia. Or people that were in Nigeria, or people that were right there on the Niger River. But I know I didn't come up with the word. That's what I know for sure. So with that being said, here we are. Bring up the graphic, Angelo. Let's talk about it. Because I'm about to pour this tea. Get your mittens, baby. This is about to be hot. There's a smoker coming in. We got it up. All right. This is Sally Montgomery. She has been a judge for 20 years. Now, I didn't know anything about this woman. To be quite honest with you, what the things I heard was hard for me to believe, to tell you the truth. I was really like, y'all sure? But here's what I know, and here's what I heard. That she is not very knowledgeable about the law. You said, well, how can somebody be on the bench for 20 years and not be knowledgeable about the law? Well, isn't that the question? Remember I said you have to ask for permission? Tell you about this woman. I've also been told by more than one source on more than one occasion after I started asking questions that not only does she not know the law, because what I was told was she either doesn't know the law or she doesn't apply the law. And then other people said, no, she doesn't know the law. And she hasn't tried to educate herself on the law. She hasn't tried to, because attorneys, just like doctors, they have to take classes every year. And I think that's every profession. Really, they have to take classes every year to make sure that, you stay abreast of the laws and things that are going on and what your responsibility is, whether it's legally or whatever your profession is. So this lady, Sally Montgomery, she was originally a Republican. She was on the 95th District Court. That's the big, what we call the money benches, right? Where they usually raise a lot of money. There is one of the judges that sits on that kind of bench that has over $600,000 in his campaign war chest, as we like to call it. So this lady got kicked off the bench because the Republicans got mad at her, and she was a Republican. So before the county flipped in 2006, this lady right here, Sally, Mustang Sally, got kicked off the bench and came back as a Democrat. You know what that makes her? That makes her a Dixiecrat. That is what we call them. They're not really Democrats in the now term, the new age term of the word. Because you remember, L.B. Johnson was a Democrat, and he was the vice president to JFK. And, I understand he used the N-word until JFK got killed, and he told Martin Luther King he would sign the Civil Rights Act of 1965. So there's a Southern mentality that usually embodies a Confederate flag kind of philosophy that these Dixiecrats hold dear. And the reason I'm saying this to you is because out of all the pictures of all the places you could use in Dallas County, in Dallas City, because it's a countywide race now, she chose the Old Red Courthouse. Let me tell you what I know about the Old Red Courthouse. It was the first courthouse in Dallas. But there is a plaque out there from last year dedicated to a man named Albert Brooks. Now, let me say this. I know this because I served on the Mayor Rollins task force for Confederate monuments. I served on there with some family members. I served on there with some other notable people of education, people of history, people of the arts, to remove the Confederate monuments. And what would we do? And as you know, the Confederate monuments were pulled down. So, we did our job. But I also served on the work group. It wasn't a task force, it was a work group to recontextualize, let's use that word, the images at Fair Park and other images. And one of the things that Reverend Michael Waters, who's sitting next to me at the horseshoe, at the helm, where everything takes place for Dallas City politics on the task force for Confederate monuments, one of the things he kept talking about was Albert Brooks. I was not familiar with the story of Albert Brooks, but I did serve on the work group that ultimately had that plaque placed by the Old Red Courthouse. And the reason is because Albert Brooks was accused of pedophilia of a little white child. Albert Brooks was snatched up, grabbed. He runs into the building trying to get away from the mob, gets away, runs down the hallway of the Old Red Courthouse, and is thrown out of the second-story window. He is then picked up by another group of people who is also attached to this mob as a collective against Albert Brooks. He was never given a trial. I don't know if the man was ever even told what he did. He was beaten. He was brutalized, and he was ultimately hung at the Old Red Courthouse. Now, that plaque was just installed either at the end of last year. I was working, so I couldn't make it. But that plaque is there in the sidewalk by the Old Red Courthouse, pictured behind Mustang Sally. And the reason I'm telling you this is because the Old Red Courthouse was a place in which lynchings of black people took place. That is a fact. I'm not making that up. That's not a coyism. I know y'all get them sometimes. But today, we just stating facts. Things that I know to be true. Out of all the places, she pictured that. So I start thinking to myself, this is a dog whistle. This is a statement saying something. Because this not even her courthouse. Her courthouse is the big white one. What street is this right here? What is this, Maine? Commerce? I think it's Commerce. That's her courthouse. Listen, the lady has a courtroom. She could take a picture of the courtroom. She could have taken a picture in the law library. She could have taken a picture at SMU because that's where she went to law school. She could have taken a picture at Baylor because I understand from several lawyers that she'll tell you, you're doing that wrong. While court proceedings are taking place, jury box full of people all around witnessing what's happening, and she will say, oh, you're not doing that right. Come here, let me show you how to do that because you're not doing it the Baylor way. The Baylor way is not the state of Texas. It's not written in a code where it says you have to do it the Baylor way. So that, too, is offensive and insulting. But let me go a little step further because I want to tell you what's offensive and insulting. This same lady, Mustang Sally, lied. This judge of 20 years lied and said that she was endorsed by the Interdenominational Ministerial Alliance, the IMA. The IMA is a collective of 300 black churches. The IMA is a nonprofit organization, and they do not endorse. They don't endorse. I'm telling you they're a nonprofit organization because if you're a nonprofit organization, you cannot endorse candidates. That's not what you say you do. Now, I just went to the IMA banquet. I understand she was there. I know she didn't buy a table, and I know she didn't buy a ticket. So somebody bought a table and gave it to her. Probably Lisa Blue, because I understand Lisa Blue is heavily campaigning for her. And so Mustang Sally says in the North Richardson's Women's Voters Guide. That's a lot, right? North Richardson, and that's as far north as you can go in Dallas County. And I told you, north is predominantly Caucasian, south is predominantly black. She says she's endorsed by the Interdenominational Ministerial Alliance, the IMA. They do not endorse. So the president of the IMA posts on Sally's Facebook page, the IMA does not endorse. She deletes the comment. I understand that there was also a letter that was sent to the North Richardson's Women's Voter Guide organizer asking her to remove that and print a retraction. They did not. But I understand that Lisa Blue did make several phone calls on behalf of Mustang Sally. Now, here's where it gets interesting. The fact that she lied and said that she was endorsed by the IMA is really eyebrow raising, because there is a court document where there is a hearing to recuse her from a court proceeding involving a black woman named Tanya Parks. Tanya Parks had a defamation of character suit. Somebody maligned her character. And apparently she was trying to remove Sally because Sally did not apply the law fairly or accurately. And in that court proceeding, the recusal hearing, it is part of the record where an attorney, Balthazar Cruz, says that he knows that Sally was overheard saying she's tired of dealing with these nigger churches. It is part of the document. I have the transcript. If you want the transcript, I'll send it to you. I wouldn't say this if I didn't have the transcript, but I have it. Now, here is what you need to know. An officer of the court, being Balthazar Cruz, would never make that statement out loud to another judge unless he believed it to be true and could substantiate that fact that it was true. Because I told you, a lawyer can't criticize a judge licensed in the state of Texas, if you're licensed in the state of Texas. So he had to believe it true, and he's not going to do that. Now, I think you should also know that he's run against Sally, and he was unsuccessful. Unsuccessful because he was not part of the establishment. Now, in as far back as 2006, there have been articles written about Mustang Sally. And Sally has been quoted by the Texas Observer as being one of the worst judges in the state of Texas. More importantly than that, she is one of the most overturned judges in the state of Texas. I had somebody tell me 15 years ago they found 47 cases where she had ruled wrongly and it had been overturned on appeal. And you need to understand that appeal means that you have at the bare minimum $5,000 just to pay the fees so that you can get a hearing for appeal. That has nothing to do with the attorney fees. So if that is in fact the case, and get in her court, and then you get a bad ruling, you've already paid your lawyer to get there, you then have to get an appeal, so you got to come up with some more money. All because of Mustang Sally, who doesn't know the law or doesn't apply the law. Now, here's where it gets interesting. She makes this statement about the IMA. She doesn't have a footprint in the black community. But what's more important is no one in the black community has even heard of this woman, except for the establishment candidates, the ones that have been around a while. She's bragging, saying that she is the longest serving Democrat. Well, she only became a Democrat when she got kicked off the Republican bench. See, the Republicans voted her in. They got mad at her, so they voted her out, so she came back as a Democrat. She kind of morphed. Now, let me tell you why that's important. They say these things. I don't believe that you're a Republican, you get kicked off the bench, and you get so mad at the Republicans, you completely disavow all the values and all the characteristics that made you originally be a Republican. I mean, I guess anything's possible. You know, the Lord bring about a change. But I don't believe that people do that. I believe that a tiger can only pretend to be a lion so long and then he goes back to being a lion again. I think people like Sally, not just her. There are plenty of Dixiecrats in these Democratic streets. I believe people like her actually vote Democrat in the primary because that's when we can log it. That's when you can actually see who has voted Democrat. Now, to that end, once you go through the primary, I believe like last year, she voted Democrat in the primary so she can hold a job, but then for the presidential race, I bet she voted Trump. That is how that thing works. They only play Democrat. We're going to get more into this statement and what has happened with Mustang Sally. This is Call with the Black Tea Sip. Stay with me. I'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Misty Mosteller, candidate for judge for Dallas County Court at Law number 3. I'm running for judge because there is a lack of humanity in our courts. Every person should feel they've had an opportunity to be heard on the merits of their case. As a practicing attorney of 22 years and a certified mediator, I know the importance of having your day in court. Inequality runs through every American system, and we must do better, starting with our courts. As a judge, I will apply the law, not with blinders on, but fairly, professionally, and with a commitment to equality. I'm asking you to trust me, and that's a big ask. I realize your trust must be earned. I'm asking for a chance to earn your vote. Join me in this movement for change.
If I told you I was going to talk about some things, I'm going to say some things, I'm going to call some names, I'm going to get it on out today, baby, because early voting starts on February 14th. And to be honest with you, I have no idea why we have kept bad judges on the bench other than party politics. Now, the challenger can't even, get a fair shot to get the data that she needs to run an effective race. But Mustang Sally can stay on the bench for 20 years giving bad rulings and requiring people to spend more money. Now, let me tell you why I'm invested in this particular race. Because Snowmageddon has a lot of people whose homes are still in disrepair. Many of you listening to the sound of my voice know someone or have heard of someone who cannot live in their house or live in a part of their home. Like this particular room is bad and they're concerned about mold and they're still fighting with the insurance company. Or churches. I know someone right now who's a preacher's kid whose church is in court right now. So with that being said, it is important that we make sure good judges on these civil benches. Now, we always know about these benches with criminal courts. We know how that affects us. But these civil benches, we don't talk about them as much. These are where personal injury cases go. So when the doctor leaves a sponge in you, it goes to those kinds of courts, the county court and the civil district courts. I'm telling you this because when an 18-wheeler runs you over and you call Amy Witherite, that's the court that it goes to. Now, I understand people are asking, is the challenger, do you know if she's financed by defense firms? What? Well, Sally is financed by plaintiffs' firms, and let's be real clear. If you're not a big plaintiffs' firm where you got multiple clients, what they call a class action, going after somebody, and I'm not saying those people don't need to be represented. They absolutely do. But we need people that are going to rule in the evidence of the court, and the evidence before the court to rule on the merits of the case. You ought to walk out of there with the good faith of knowing that you were heard. Win or lose, you were heard. Your case mattered to that judge. Not somebody telling the lawyer whether or not they're doing it the Baylor way. But more importantly, I know of a man named Sean Standiford who was 25 years old when he was trying to buy a building as a chiropractor. It was predatory lending, which they do oftentimes to black people, regardless of age, tax bracket, walk of life, or ilk. And they stuck him with a 15-year pre-penalty. You're not supposed to do more than 3. Tricked him into signing the documents, and he tried to get it corrected through the title company. Now, he told me this himself, and he says he has the documents. I have not seen any documents because I haven't had a chance to get back with him this campaign season. But I will tell you what Sean Standiford told me. He told me that when the case went before Sally, Mustang Sally, when it went before her, she ruled against him and the defense didn't even show up. That is called a default judgment. If the other party does not show in court on that day to make sure the court hears their side of events and presents their case, the court is to say, well, you win because you're here and they are not by default, and that is called a default judgment. She ruled in favor of the defense. So I don't think it matters if you're a plaintiff. They keep saying, she's a plaintiff's judge. No, because Mr. Standiford was a plaintiff. Ms. Parks, who I told you when her attorney stood up and said he knows that she made the statement about she's tired of nigger churches, she ain't too tired because she lied on the IMA. Or maybe she is tired and this is sabotage. Maybe she's trying to get rid of the black church. There's 300 of them. So if she gets the IMA in trouble, then what happens? Because they could face IRS trouble because of her lie. And then the fact that the North Richardson Women's Voters Guide won't remove it, won't print a retraction, nothing. Isn't that something? I think that we ought to really be paying attention to who's sitting on these benches and for how long. So I think I'm going to start doing a scorecard. Because Mustang Sally, out of all the locations, she chose the red courthouse. I think that's a dog whistle. I think she's telling people, even though I'm saying that I'm really with these little darkies, no, in your hearts, north of I-30, I am not. See the red courthouse behind me? That's a dog whistle. That's like saying you people. It's a dog whistle. I do not believe that Mustang Sally is fit for the bench. I don't know why she's still running. So it must be power. Or maybe she owes people. You know, like there was this story years ago that Bob Dylan, the singer, he was doing an interview with Ed Bradley. And Ed Bradley said, man, when are you going to retire? You've been doing this for like 60-something years. And he said, I got to pay the high commander. You got to. And he said, what? And, and people started speculating. And they started saying, he's a devil worshiper and he can't retire because the devil won't allow him. Satan, remember the church lady on SNL, Satan wouldn't allow him to. I wonder if that's the case with Mustang Sally. If certain members of the Democratic Party will not allow her to. Because the poor woman, you're looking at the picture and sometimes you really don't know what age they are because some of these people age like bananas. But this is an old lady. Look at her arms. So even in the picture, I don't know why they shot that picture in high def. Bless her heart. She ought to be mad at those people because she don't have to look like that. But they shot this picture and they made sure the courthouse was behind it. And I do believe that that's a dog whistle because there are 1,000 other places she could have taken a picture and had something else in the backdrop. But she chose the old red courthouse. That's not her courthouse. So listen to what I'm saying to y'all. I'm not making this up. Old red courthouse. The old. So she is reminiscent of how things used to be. If they say, well, they just wanted her to know, because it's the old red courthouse and she's a longtime Democrat. She's not. She's a longtime Dixiecrat. Why that courthouse? Well, I'll tell you. The old way of doing things. a place where lynchings took place, a place where there is now a placard for an acknowledgement of the brutality and the mistreatment that Albert Brooks and the Brooks family and every black person who witnessed it suffered PTSD. That is documented. It's in the historical records that people said it was the most horrific thing they had ever seen. Children there downtown that were walking with their parents who were shopping, they were traumatized. That is the picture that she chose. That's a dog whistle. That's saying something. I'm not making it up, because if you have ever even seen the show Dallas from a long time ago, the Dallas Cowboy game, they shoot the skyline. We are known for our skyline. There were a plethora of places that she could have taken a picture. So no, this Highland Park lady takes a picture in front of the old red courthouse on purpose. If you don't know anything about Highland Park, it's like Chevy Chase or Beverly Hills. It's for exclusive. Highland Park is actually a city within the city of Dallas that operates totally independent of the city of Dallas. You should know that. So with that being said, there are a lot of things that we would like to change in Dallas County. And there are some of us that are working to do that. Jane Hamilton is one of them. Kim Cooks is another. Amber Givens is also someone who is trying to make a difference. And right now she's in litigation. Teresa Hawthorne, who she originally unseated and took that position and then implemented pipeline to possibilities to help people get off probation. Because you know what they do in these criminal courts. They put you on probation for 10, 12 years. Well, in 10 or 12 years, you're not going to be able to make every single meeting with your PO. Things happen, kids get sick, hell, you get sick, you get a flat tire. They can violate you because it depends on what kind of probation officer you get. Maybe you get a Dixiecrat. So we need people like that sitting on the bench. We need Misty Mosteller sitting on the bench, who is a Black Lives Matter protester, who is avid about how she dislikes Trump. I mean, she's even got a posting board that says, better a crap hole, because I'm not going to use the word. You know what he said about Africa. Better a crap hole than a Trump hole. You know, her daughter and her family, her daughter's a protester. You know, these are people that are trying to get it right. And all Sally's doing is constantly getting it wrong. Now the IMA could face legal trouble because of old Sally. And I'm saying OLE, but really it's OLD because she's old. Like, she doesn't have to continue to run. She's 20 years. This is the last year that she can run. And so here's what I want to end with. I believe that the Dallas County Democratic Party and the Texas Democratic Party are punishing Misty Mosteller for not allowing this lady to just go on out and ride into the sunset and give her 4 more years of bad judgments, 4 more years of being overturned, 4 more years of being tired of nigger churches, 4 more years. The same way they tried to punish Bridget Whitmore, the same way they tried to punish Kim Cooks, the same way they tried to punish Andrea Long, the same way they're trying to punish Amber Givens. What do these people have in common? They're actually supporters, live in, represent the black church. Misty Mosteller grew up on Camp Wisdom and Polk in Oak Cliff. She is not afraid of black folks. I mean, I've seen candidates go to church, because, you know, that's the thing that we do. The backbone of the Democratic Party is black women, and the core of how we deal in politics is the black church. I've seen them be completely uncomfortable, get up and leave, and right after their name is called, because there's a certain amount of entitlement there. I understand. I was not there. I did not hear it for myself, but allegedly Sally said she can't believe that she has to go through this because perhaps no one was supposed to challenge her, even though she was voted one of the worst judges in the state of Texas, per the Texas Observer. Worst, one of the worst, one of the most overturned, and certainly one that will placate, condescend, use, manipulate the black community for her own gratification. Shame on the Democratic Party. Shame on them for keeping this woman on the bench. Y'all know she ain't no good. This is Coy with the Black Tea Sip. All right, I hope I gave it to you the way you wanted it. We're going to get on out of here, Angelo and I. We're going to do it again, same bad time, same bad channel next week. We'll have Jane Hamilton on. She'll tell you for herself why she's the right candidate. Y'all get out there on Valentine's Day after y'all get to hugging up and getting your roses and your chocolates and your sweaters and things, men, and your new comfortable shoes, house slippers. Y'all going on out there and vote. All right? And I'll see you again. And bring your cup next week. We'll fill it up. This is Coy, Diamonds, Pearls, and Jerry Curls, and I'm out.
Hi, I'm Misty Mosteller, candidate for Dallas County Court at Law number 3. I'm running for judge because there is a lack of humanity in our courts. Every person should feel they've had an opportunity to be heard on the merits of their case. As a practicing attorney of 22 years and a certified mediator, I know the importance of having your day in court. Inequality runs through every American system, and we must do better, starting with our courts. As a judge, I will apply the law, not with blinders on, but fairly, professionally, and with a commitment to equality. I'm asking you to trust me, and that's a big ask. I realize your trust must be earned. I'm asking for a chance to earn your vote. Join me in this movement for change.